Another beautiful morning here in Cancun in Mexico, and if you haven't been along with the channel before, my name is Mark. I'm a Kiwi rugby fan, and yes, I'm living here in beautiful Mexico. Now in today's video I'm going to talk about the British and Irish Lions as a concept, and whether or not, like a lot of you, are thinking that it's perhaps past its due by date. So what can be done to innovate it and make a change that will keep the majority of rugby fans happy? Well, I'm going to talk about something in this video that's already been proposed a number of times, but I think it's time for some traction to be made, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do about it. Now, the whole concept of the British and Irish Lions has been around for a long time. In fact, in the 1800s when they first started, they went down to Australia and they ended up actually playing an AFL footy game in one of those tour matches. That's something that doesn't happen these days, of course. But like you, there's many people online that have been saying that it's time for a change. The British and Irish Lions concept has lost its appeal, and why don't they play against the South African, New Zealand, Australian and Argentinian team? Basically a North versus South concept. So I'm currently getting a proposal together that I'm going to send off to the British and Irish Lions Limited organisation with my proposal on what I think should happen. But I thought I'd share it with you all today and get your ideas and input so we can make it the best we possibly can. Now, this concept has been around for a while. A lot of people have been talking about it, but I'd like to see it come to fruition for a number of reasons, and I'm going to talk to you today about those reasons. But now, don't forget, I want your input into this proposal so I can send it away and see what response, if anything, we get from this. So the first thing I would do is I would expand the British and Irish Lions concept and include France in that. So we have the British, Irish, French Lions squad. Wouldn't that be a good team with a selection of players from those different nations? Okay, so the tours would take place every 4 years in between Rugby World Cups, of course, so it gives us that high level of rugby between the top playing rugby nations and something to get excited about between the Rugby World Cups, and it involves the North versus South, what a lot of people want to see. So in this concept, there'd be a 5 test match series, a one-off game in each of the areas around the world. So the first game would be in the UK, Ireland or France, and those unions can decide whether it's going to be at Twickenham or the Stade de France or the Aviva Stadium or whatever. And then we would have one match in each of the SANZAAR nations. So we'd have a match in South Africa, we'd have one in Australia, one in New Zealand and one in Argentina. And I think this would be great for World Rugby. It would keep the crowd enthusiastic about it, and it would spread the whole Lions concept around the world rather than having them tour one particular country like they do today. Now, one of the things I do with the SANZAAR squad I would be limiting the number of players from each nation so it's fair, first of all, and we don't end up getting a team that's just full of Springboks and Kiwis. So I would make sure that there, out of the squad of 32 that's selected for the SANZAAR squad, we'd have 8 players from each nation. That's one way of being able to balance it up. But when it comes to the match 23 chosen for each test match, any number of players can be included in that particular game. So that way we get exposure across all the different nations in a more fair way, instead of just loading it up with players from a couple of nations. That's what I would do on that front. And now I see a lot of benefits coming out of this concept, and the first one would be that the rugby fans across the world will get to see the North versus South concept happening every 4 years, and I think that's something that the majority of real true rugby fans want to see. They want to see a clash between the Northern Hemisphere best players and the Southern Hemisphere best players. So I think that's one of the major benefits that would come out of this. The next one is rugby is in the entertainment business, and just like any other business, it needs to keep evolving and innovating to keep its customers happy. We've seen it with the likes of the Netflix series that have taken place for the Six Nations, and how much that's brought rugby into the living rooms of a lot of people who haven't understood the game in the past, and it helps to grow the game around the world. I think this concept would as well, by getting the best players from the Northern Hemisphere against the best players in the Southern Hemisphere. We would see a growth in rugby as a result of this. I think the commercial interest in such a concept would be huge as well. The fact that we'd be taking this series to South Africa, New Zealand, Australia and Argentina opens up the commercial opportunities for this. And after all, we're in the game of making money for the World Rugby game in general. And I think this will help a lot of those unions in particular. So I think this could be an absolutely great commercial boom. Now, moving on from that, I think the reality of ticket sales and broadcast deals associated with this concept would also be very, very large. Just imagine filling up Twickenham, filling up Loftus Versfeld, filling up Eden Park, filling up the Melbourne Cricket Ground, and filling up the biggest stadiums we have in Argentina would go a long way to helping this concept be a sustainable viability into the future. Another thing I would add here as a benefit would be the way that it actually inspires players to get into this team. I think any player who's looking to be at the pinnacle of the rugby world wants to play against the very, very best players. So if you're a player in the Southern Hemisphere, one of the goals that you would have in your career journey would be to make it into this SANZAAR team, because it is going to be the best of the best in the Southern Hemisphere. No doubt about it as well in the Lions side, and if we're including France in that discussion, then it also becomes a concept where those players in the Northern Hemisphere would see this as a career-defining pinnacle in addition to playing in a Rugby World Cup. So there you go, there's some of the things that I'm thinking about putting forward as a notion behind this. I haven't included anything negative in this video, because I know that you'll do that in the comments and tell me why it won't work. So I'm going to look forward to reading all of your comments and telling me why a series between the British, Irish and French Lions and the SANZAAR team would not work, and I'll take all those into consideration. So there you go. I'm not trying to be negative about the existing Lions concept, although I am feeling that it's outdated. All I want, as with any team in World Rugby, is to look at how things can be better, not only for players but also for the viewing public and the people that follow our great game across the world. So I think it's time for a change. I think it's time for the British Irish Lions to become the British, Irish and French Lions. I think it's time to see the best players in the Southern Hemisphere take on the best players in the Northern Hemisphere on a regular basis, so that us rugby fans across the world can see the best players in action yet again outside of that Rugby World Cup cycle. Now let me know in the comments what you think of this idea. As I said, I know it's been around for a while as a concept. Is it time now though to actually put this into action and for rugby fans to finally get to see the best in the north against the best in the south? I look forward to your comments on this one. Okay, that's it for this video. I'll be back again soon. We've got the Rugby Championships on the horizon. I'm going to make a few videos talking about that and where I see the state of play in those teams who are going to compete in this year's Rugby Championship. And if you're not a regular viewer of rugby across the world, or maybe you've just found our game for the first time in 2025, I'll explain a little bit in detail what the Rugby Championship actually is, who's involved, and what is usually the outcome of that competition. Okay, that's it for this video, folks. I'll see you all again very soon from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Until next time, you keep safe, keep well, keep enjoying your rugby across the world, and it's time to say adios from here. Bye for now.